My name is Michael Shikatano, and this is Right Here, Right Now, a podcast to inspire the learner inside each of us. In a world that is full of so much information, we will help find and package that information so that you can use it in your lives every day in practical ways. And in each episode, we will remind you of the importance of being present and mindful of your daily thoughts, actions, and interactions. It is truly the most vital step to learning and growth, being mindful and present right here, right now, to take on life's challenges and turn them into life's lessons. So come on this venture with us, a new beginning, a new journey that starts right here, right now. Welcome back, people. I am Michael Shikatano, your host of Right Here, Right Now, the podcast that encourages and supports and celebrates the strivers of good health in our community of listeners and followers. Those of us in search of good health in body and mind and spirit. The podcast that reminds us that being mindful and present with an audacious self-awareness of how our bodies and minds are impacted by each of our moments in life. The podcast that today will help steer us all down a path to living a more meaningful and purpose-driven life for a healthier outlook and trajectory as we advance in age. It's happening to every one of us, people. Today we're talking mortality, specifically our very own state of being subject to death here, people. You may have heard a buzz about this topic recently, especially if you're paying attention and you are perhaps close to middle-aged, which I guess means you have made it roughly halfway through your journey in this life, which is quite a concept to ponder. How do we ever know? How would we ever know if we have made it to our halfway mark? Is there less road ahead of us than behind us? We take for granted, as I even utter these words, that we are somehow guaranteed a bunch of tomorrows and the next days and this next upcoming holiday. And as you may be having some uneasy feelings, perhaps a bit while listening, let's embrace some stillness here, my attentive and focused listeners. I needed to ground myself as I prepared this episode too. Considering our mortality is not something that we do well. It is something we may even avoid. It can certainly lead to being uncomfortable. We do not reflect on these thoughts often, and maybe this creeps up on us in the time when we lose someone close to us. And this usually does not serve us well to be mindful and present, as we might benefit from routinely reflecting on our mortality, right? If we do this regularly, we may get more out of it. If we only do this when someone that we are close to passes, or we hear of a terrible diagnosis of a close friend, that's really not when we should be focusing on our mortality. We should be doing this routinely. We're going to figure out the benefits right here, right now. And I think it can potentially help us have a better outlook on life. And today's question, today's moment of curiosity that we will embrace as we center ourselves right here, right now, in this very moment, is this. Can contemplating our mortality and seeing death as an imminent event help us live with more purpose and meaning and perhaps a calm sense of urgency to mindfully soak up our experiences and lean more naturally toward action versus inaction? More bluntly here, maybe, is coming to terms with inevitable death something that can motivate us, inspire us regularly, perhaps? Since we do not know, nor will we ever really know when our path will come to an end, the concept that may help us with the realization that we are mortal beings, that we will come to an end, is Memento Mori, which literally translates as remember, you will die. This is a Stoic principle from ancient philosophy. Remember, you will die. Memento Mori. The concept permeates through many teachings in almost all religions. And as we get into the mindset to absorb this concept, let's consider this quote from Seneca, one of our Stoics, to help us open our minds and hearts to this potentially difficult concept to contemplate. Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. And there are so many of these amazing and incredible insights from the Stoics, specifically on Memento Mori, that I will share throughout this episode as we become still with embracing our mortality. They studied and philosophized on this difficult notion to better their outlook on life. And of course, they shared with their followers and learners. And it is incredible to think that this is what is happening right here, right now, that I'm sharing these concepts with each of you. Memento Mori. This is a Stoic principle that should imprint on us that we are mortal beings and that we can be at the end of our existence at any moment in time. And worse, perhaps, we might consider that any of our loved ones may only be here for a very short time. There seems to be a sudden shock, no matter the circumstance, when someone is taken from us. We don't expect it. We're not prepared. And this ancient Stoic principle is determined to help us, in that its message to us was resilient to survive all these centuries to prepare the world for the terminal diagnosis that we are all born with. Losing the loved ones that are taken from us, or us from them, with no warning before we are ready. And when it comes to the loss of a loved one, reasonable thinking has us asking, when are we ever ready for a loss like that? Are we ever ready to hear and be reminded of and reflect on daily that we are going to die? Memento Mori? That everyone around us is going to die? Perhaps this is how we prepare with a daily practice and a routine reminder. Memento Mori. Perhaps this is how we can feel the sense of loss that looms ahead more readily if we consider and reflect regularly on this unambiguous fact of life. This, like so many other concepts we study, is, of course, a practice. We will need to do this over and over, perhaps when all is going well, in times when it may be easier to consider the fragility of life, to build this habit, to get better at facing our eventual demise. And this practice may help to set us up for a better way to handle the morbid nature of our mortality, when it is more difficult to do so in the face of imminent loss. And I must interject an interesting story here on how the idea for this episode on this topic came to be and evolved from one sentence to the next. The idea that transformed through my open heart and open mind in my creative spirit of creating these works for each of you, for myself as well. I actually began writing this very episode as an episode on longevity. That's right, here, people. Stay with me. The principle and well-studied science of living a healthier and longer life by increasing what Peter Attia calls our health span. So he proposes living better longer, in better health, not just longer, quality of life as opposed to quantity of life. And the episode turned into something that how we must consider the temporality of our lifespan and how we will come to an end sooner than we think, perhaps because we are not thinking of our death. I was looking to introduce our mortality into the longevity episode and realized that this Memento Mori needed much more contemplation and study, much more attention. And I'm here to share what I learned with each of you on my journey of exploration, my detour that led me to this very topic of Memento Mori. I promise you that I will take these concepts and combine them with the soon-to-be released and more thoughtfully created episode, and perhaps better version of my creation after this delightful detour, on how to live a healthier and more balanced life to improve your health span. We are going to dive into one of the most fascinating books I've read this year, Outlive by Peter Attia. And he is incredible on the insights that he has on how we can live healthier in our years. And stay tuned. Perhaps this lesson that interrupted my original lesson will allow us to embark on a new journey of embracing our mortality, which has the capacity to help us to be better equipped to live our lives with a purpose and an intention of living better, with an audacious capacity to behold more in those years, more awareness, more presence, more availability, more spontaneity, more adventure, more sentiment, more deliberation, more intentionality, more lovingness, more connection, more mindfulness. This is what excites me, people, the interconnectedness of various concepts, right? Mortality and longevity here, this dichotomy. One as old as the ancient Stoics have shared their teachings with us, to one that is breaking ground and building in its popularity and traction in the scientific community at this very moment in time. And the point of the detour that I stumbled upon for me is this: living longer means nothing if our existence is not held with the sanctity that every precious moment deserves. Our enduring devotion to each moment will give more life to each and every ephemeral moment we are gifted. Please continue listening. If you need a gentle pause with a deliberate and effortless deep breath in and out. Here, people, I promise the lesson is less morbid than it sounds, right? Who wants to talk about death? This Memento Mori, its benefit and impact should at least be considered. And like all of the teachings and concepts and insights we study and reflect on, right here, right now, it will take deliberate and intentional practice. And I mean deliberate, meaning there's a reason behind what you're doing, right? And intentional, meaning you're doing those things for the right reason consistently. And it may soon and steadily have a profound impact on your outlook on life. Embracing hard truths about death may put you at ease and at peace, if only we are open to their lessons. Memento Mori serves as a philosophical and psychological tool to encourage each of us to regularly reflect on our mortality and prioritize what truly matters in life. And let's keep our momentum going on Memento Mori with, of course, another quote, this one from Marcus Aurelius. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. And as I'm studying and learning and creating, I was meditating in the midst of this, and a very similar concept was introduced by Tamara Levitt, who I absolutely love to meditate with in the Daily Calm app, life-changing experience. And she talked about the motivating impact of impermanence. Wow, right? The motivating impact of impermanence. That's what this Memento Mori is, right? And she says that we have to learn how the precious fragility of life can awaken us. This is not a dark concept here, people. It is turning on the light to our lives. The theory is that the embodiment and acceptance of our inevitable deaths allows us to better appreciate and be fulfilled with our life, to live our lives more fully and wholly. It reminds me sort of the concept that we must be able to experience and endure and embrace transient pain to better experience and embody and flourish with the fleetingness of our joy. Memento Mori, the ancient practice of reflecting on our mortality, facing the hard, cold fact that we will die, that our existence is impermanent, that all things are impermanent, the joys of life and the sorrows of death, Our days are numbered, as the adage goes, right? We just do not know the number. Are we preparing our life and our existence for when our number is up? By keeping in mind that life is finite, Memento Mori encourages us to live more intentionally, making the most of our time and focusing on what brings meaning and value to our lives. And it's often associated with mindfulness. You understand where the extreme interest comes from. And it can be a powerful reminder to help us make choices that align with our deeper values and goals. And we're going to discuss how mindfulness practiced with the Memento Mori principles, perhaps a background noise of this Stoic principle in the context of the ancient practice of mindfulness, can help us on our journey of savoring this very moment and not allowing time to just slip by. And Epictetus reminds us, no loss should be more regrettable to us than losing our time, for it is irretrievable. So let's embrace each moment. We're going to dive into mindfulness and Memento Mori and how they're related in several ways. And we'll be able to use the principle of Memento Mori to aid in our practice of being more mindful in each of our moments in life. And we can also consider how the practice of being mindful in each of our moments can offer some help with facing our mortality. So let's see how they parallel each other and how contemplating our mortality in a healthy way, done regularly, done deliberately, can help us practice this wonderful way of living a more mindfully present life. Right? So awareness of the present moment. Mindfulness is all about being fully present in the moment, paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without judgment. Memento Mori encourages us to remember the impermanence of life, which can motivate us to appreciate the current moment and not take it for granted. Right? Marcus Aurelius, he wrote to himself in his meditations, the present is all we have to live in or to lose. And we can better prioritize what matters, right? Both concepts encourages us to focus on what truly is important. Mindfulness helps us let go of distractions and unproductive thoughts, while Memento Mori reminds us that time is limited. So it's crucial to prioritize actions and relationships that have meaning and significance. And Marcus Aurelius says, again, let each thing you would do, say, or intend be like that of a dying person. Wow, right? Can we get our mind to think that way regularly? Not easy, very, very difficult. And mindfulness practice can help alleviate anxiety by grounding us in the present, the gift of the present that has such a powerful impact on our mental well-being, right? We know this about mindfulness. And the awareness of mortality through Memento Mori can also reduce anxiety by putting daily stressors into perspective. When we realize that many of life's concerns are fleeting, we may become less anxious about them, right? In this grand, big picture, a lot of life's more trivial things might cause us less anxiety if we look at it that way. And Seneca reminds us, life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future. And mindfulness teaches acceptance of change and impermanence, which aligns very well with the core message of Memento Mori, right? When we accept the fact that everything, including life itself, is impermanent, it becomes easier to adapt to life's ups and downs. And gratitude. Both practices can promote a sense of gratitude. Mindfulness helps us appreciate the present moment, while Memento Mori encourages us to appreciate the people and experiences in your life while we have the chance. And mindfulness can lead to greater self-awareness. Hopefully this is all a review, right? We're mindfulness students here, so we're reviewing. and it helping us to understand our values and priorities. Memento Mori prompts us to reflect on these values in the context of life's brevity, and we make decisions and act accordingly. And speaking of action, right? Memento Mori can be a powerful motivator. It encourages us to make the most of our time and not procrastinate on our goals and aspirations, a concept that we know aligns well with the intention setting aspects of mindfulness. And incorporating the idea of memento mori into our mindfulness practice can deepen our understanding of life's impermanence and enhance our ability to fully engage with the present moment, this very moment. It's a way to infuse our mindfulness practice with a sense of purpose and a reminder to live with intention and authenticity. So let's get some more clarity from a modern day Stoic, perhaps the modern day Stoic, who has an exemplary handle on the ancient Stoic teachings. And of course, I'm speaking of Ryan Holiday, who has some wonderful insight and wisdom on this practice of reflecting on our own impermanence and truly the impermanence of all things. And he writes, meditating on your mortality is only depressing if you miss the point. It is in fact a tool to create priority and meaning. It's a tool that generations have used to create real perspective and urgency, to treat our time as a gift and not waste it on the trivial and vain. Death doesn't make life pointless, but rather purposeful. And fortunately, we do not have to nearly die to tap into this. A simple reminder can bring us closer to living the life we want. It doesn't matter who you are or how many things you have left to be done. A car can hit you in an intersection and drive your teeth back into your skull. That's it. It could all be over. Today, tomorrow, someday, soon. And hopefully this is a simple reminder. Memento mori, remember, we will die. And I'm feeling it, people, right here, right now. I sense a mindfulness intention coming as I sit and write and contemplate the profound impact this concept and practice can have upon us. This is the offering of the teachings. The mindfulness intention is perhaps how we can embody the practice and fully allow it to penetrate our minds and hearts. Stay tuned. I'm working on that. And after losing the two most loving and influential people in my life, my mom and dad, a loss that we experienced both within 3 years, I have often battled with that question, why? They were so young. And asking why, I don't know if this has ever really served me well. Perhaps I wish that I could have lived with some of the peace and stillness and acceptance that this memento mori concept offers to each of us. And though it is difficult to embrace, coming to this with an open mind and an open heart may allow you to at least consider its potential positive impact. You may have to reflect on these concepts a bit more after this episode. I know that I will, and each time I do, I am all but certain that I will come to a unique realization about how it can be helpful, right? The timing of our thoughts and contemplation and study. I believe that through the inspiration to create a mindfulness intention, we may be able to ask ourselves the questions that may lead to creative and novel thoughts on how we can fit this concept and practice into our daily lives. Gently here, people, not forcing it, with an imperative acceptance, with greater love of life and less fear and denial of death. The framework that has helped me use this principle a bit more effectively is that leaning into our mortality should make us less fearful of death. It will also allow you to savor the moments in life that we are blessed to be here for. And I will leave you all with two more powerful and meaningful quotes, one from a Stoic long gone and one from my favorite living Stoic. And Seneca writes, let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. You may have heard that recently, earlier in this episode, but it's so powerful. It means so much about embracing the moment. And Ryan Holiday elegantly puts a very similar concept. Let us use the time we have before we lose the time we are never guaranteed. Beautiful. This takes a little effort and a little nudge. Hopefully, today's message has you reflecting just enough to realize that we are mortal beings with limited time, and that our world only seems to overwhelm us on tough days. Slow yourself down, deep breath in, and whisper to yourself, memento. And as you release that breath, feel the utterance of the word Mori consume your exhale. Memento Mori. So continue to meditate and contemplate on your own mortality. It may be helpful to share this concept with someone that you can talk to, and maybe this inspires some action within you to pick up the phone and make the call you've been putting off. Maybe shoot that text or return that text that you let linger. Drop by for a long overdue chat. Let those that care about you know that you care deeply about them. Express your gratitude for those that have reached out to you so genuinely and naturally. Or just show up and be present for someone that needs you, right here, right now. Thank you for joining us once again today, people. Please rate the show and share this episode with someone that you care about and that needs to slow down and be reminded of how precious each of our moments in life truly are. We'll see you next time, right here, right now. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time, right here, right now.